Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh! Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast on this Tuesday. Sterling Holmes, Josh Briscoe, and we have news. Happy news! Sad news.
Wrong podcast.
All news. Sad news for some people who are no longer making the roster on the Kansas City Chiefs. Hopefully some will find opportunities elsewhere. Hopefully some will find opportunities on the Chiefs practice squad. We'll gloss on the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift engagement.
You know who's not on the open market anymore, Sterling? You know who's not a free agent anymore? You know who seemed to get a pretty nice signing bonus today, Sterling? Taylor Swift and her new record, The Life of a Showgirl, coming soon. I was gonna give the date, but I don't know. I'll admit it. I'm a casual on the Swiftie side of it all.
I'm a
But
cash.
you love love, Sterling. You're a married man. I'm a married man. You love love. Today, love's in the air.
Okay. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Travis. I'm happy for Taylor Swift. I don't get it. I don't get why people care that much.
Sterling Holmes of Arrowhead Addict says he, quote, doesn't get it regarding Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift engagement. Quote, I don't know what she sees in him, says Holmes, 31.
Yeah, didn't say that. Okay. I'm happy for him. I don't. It's their personal lives, I guess. So I'm thrilled for them. The only thing I'll say is, where do we think their wedding's going to be at? My guess is like Italy. It'd be funny if it was like an Oakland Park.
Independence, yeah.
Independence. They're doing it at Mugs Up at Independence Audio. That'd be great. That'd be outstanding. Yeah, I'm all on there. Casey Bierko, I did my engagement photos there. Travis, Taylor, you can follow in my footsteps.
Where they kind of almost met initially, where they both have the biggest command of the crowd and where they could absolutely sell tickets? Do it at Arrowhead, baby.
Do it at Arrowhead. To your wedding.
Do your wedding at Arrowhead. It'd be the biggest, most attended wedding of all time. You can do a parade afterwards. It'd be great for Kansas City. It would be bigger than the World Cup. I don't think that's quite true, but man, it might be.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Is I'm happy for them, but end of the day, it's their personal lives, and I'm gonna move on. Chiefs cut down day. We don't know all the players who were released at this exact moment. I know Sam McDowell was tweeting out, maybe about an hour ago now, but they still didn't know who was released. Like, they had multiple guys on the field practicing.
More than 53 guys on the field 90 minutes before cut time. I saw McDowell name dropped like Josh Williams, Nico Remigio, Jason Brownlee, all still out there.
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell, Nico, Josh Williams, and Brownlee, yeah. That's wild to me. The Chiefs are just sitting there like, yeah, I guess we have no idea who we're going to release. Or they're waiting to see what the other teams do in regards to cuts, right? Because maybe that affects if, hey, maybe we do keep Josh Williams, or hey, maybe we do keep Elijah Mitchell. I think Brownlee would be the concerning one. I don't know how that one plays in. Nico, I think's made it because I think the Chiefs are going with 7 wide receivers now and keeping him as a special teamer exclusively, because I don't think he's going to make it through to the practice squad. I think another team would pick him up. I think that's your insurance to an extent if and when Rasheed gets suspended. You also have the concerns of can Hollywood and even to an extent Juju Smith-Schuster stay healthy for a full season. Royals, obviously, it looks like he has that injury, and according to Andy Reid looked like Omar Norman-Lott was closer to returning to the field than Jalen Royals was. So take that with a grain of salt. So I think the wide receiver room, as deep as it is, there are some injury concerns there and just missing game concerns. So I do think 7 wide receivers, where I'm typically out on that, in the grand scheme of things, I think this year in particular actually does make some sense.
One thing also, and certainly I hope this isn't the case for Jalen Royals, you'd like to see him out there as soon as possible. I'm admitting something that I'm like a tiny bit embarrassed about. I didn't realize they had changed the rule on being placed on IR before the season, that you can have multiple designated players who can be on there and then still return. That was not a distinction they made for FAU. I don't know if you have to declare that at the time or where that sets it up. But that was something today they might shake it up, where if you say, hey, maybe Royals is the guy that's just going to not be out there the first 4 weeks of the season, and that lets you keep Jason Brownlee on the roster, and then maybe you try to your little practice squad sneak for him a few weeks down the road, or the Rice suspension comes in and all that. So yeah, I think there could be, specifically the wide receiver position is going to be the place for kind of the funny math of seeing how they get to 53.
Yeah, you can do that, but only a few guys can return in the season.
I think it's 2, right?
Yeah, I think it was 2 or 3, but you're right. It might be 2 now. They changed it. As far as dudes who have been cut right now, again, I feel bad because these are guys who, some of them, their NFL career's over. Some will go to practice squads. Some will be practice squads in KC or elsewhere. And some, hopefully for them, get picked up by other teams. That is the nature of the game, and some good players and some players that I think the Chiefs might even have wanted to and like to develop. Guys like C.J. Hansen, they kept on the roster all of last season. Speaking of C.J. Hansen, one of the guys who is not going to be here in KC. Chris Oladokin, Melvin Smith, Cam Jones, right? Cam Jones, slightly surprising. I have to imagine he's going to Tennessee. Nate Borgonzi there, as far as going to snag him, I'd have to imagine. He always had an affinity for Cam Jones.
Mike Borgonzi, not Nate Bargatze, which is, I think, what happened there.
Did I say Nate Bargatze?
You said Nate Borgonzi, and it took me a second to figure out what you meant and who it was. And I was like, Nate Borgonzi sounds familiar, but that's wrong. It's the new Titans GM, not the comedian.
We sure Nate Bargatze? Maybe he likes Cam Jones too. We don't know.
We don't know. I feel like is he a Tennessee guy? He got a little
First thing I would
down
ask
there somewhere, right?
If I see Nate actually I've talked to Nate Bargatze before. First thing if I see him again, I'll ask him is, do you like Cam Jones? And let me see if I can get this on air for this one specific bit just to prove a point to a guy.
Sterling. He's from Nashville, Tennessee. I think this is okay. I think this works. I think Nate Borgonzi is fine, actually. I shouldn't have corrected you.
Okay, so both the GM and the comedian apparently want Cam Jones, at least I assume. Marlon Tuipulotu, I think that was a casualty of Derek Nnadi.
Yes.
That seems kind of one for
Derek
one.
Nnadi didn't kill him. It's just they traded for Derek Nnadi, and they probably needed a roster spot.
Trey Watson, Cole Christensen, who might be back on the special teams yet again. Keziah Izzard, defensive tackle. He also might be back on the practice squad. Shu Godric, I think, again, a practice squad guy because he can go there with the international designation, so it doesn't count towards your 16. Carson Steele, we'll see what happens with him. I think, let's hit Carson Steele really quickly.
Sure.
I'm not surprised he didn't make it.
No.
And I don't know if he's going to get picked up by another team. I know we have some sort of an affinity for Carson Steele because we see the luscious locks. We see Crocky J. We see, bring the fullback back. But yet he wasn't very effective last year. He had a couple fumbling issues. His best attribute was probably on kickoffs on special teams, but it now seems like you have Rashard Smith who can take at least one of those spots. And if Nico Remigio's there, then you have those two guys. Yep. It didn't make a lot of sense why I thought folks were just counting him in on the 53-man roster. I also don't see why a lot of teams would go out and pick him up and put him on their 53-man roster. It's nothing against him, but he does seem like a guy who would make it through to the practice squad. You're looking at guys getting released, running backs, more than others that you're like, oh, I know that guy, or I remember that guy, or that guy was drafted. Like, right. I think he's safe to make it to the practice squad. At least that's my opinion.
I remember talking about like in April, all right, and then blah, 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 and Carson Steele on the practice squad. Like, with absolutely no sarcasm whatsoever, with no shade at all. He's an undrafted running back who is already kind of having like not the best case version of his career, but is having a really nice start to an NFL career and is exactly the type of player who I think you really want to have on your practice squad and you don't want to have to rely on in your backfield. And maybe he still has room to grow. Obviously, he's still very young at this position. So I think he makes the most sense as a practice squad type of guy. The one case where I could see him getting claimed somewhere, it just would depend on the build of your running back room. Right now, the Chiefs have Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, obviously Rashard Smith, and it seems like Elijah Mitchell might not make the cut. We don't know yet. If the Chiefs didn't have Kareem Hunt, a less explosive, bigger back who you want to have to do some short yardage things, and Kareem Hunt also might be the guy you trust in pass pro, and Carson Steele's not there right now. I could see if you're saying, hey, if we're a team that needs a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, it's not going to get a lot of playing time, not getting a lot of touches, but could also be a plus special teamer for us. I could see Carson Steele getting a 53-man roster spot and a consistent paycheck somewhere else. Otherwise, I think he makes all the sense in the world for a practice squad spot.
Yeah, I would concur. I think Elijah Mitchell's spot is precarious. We're keeping an eye out as we see if anything comes through in regards to Elijah Mitchell. I think Elijah, Brownlee, and Josh Williams are probably the guys that we're looking at towards the very end. Cooper McDonald, from all accounts, has made the 53-man roster. That's why you saw Cam Jones being released. By the way, who called Cooper McDonald? If you were in the Discord, I said Cooper McDonald, y'all. Listen to the man. I get one right almost every year, and then I also missed one with Esapole. I thought Esapole was.
Or should this be our Mike Edwards conversation?
Yeah. Well, I said they're going to bring him back. I didn't say he was going to make the 53.
You're right on that front. He was on the Chiefs 90-man roster.
I think I got you on a technicality. I think the Chiefs might sign a guy, like a Mike Edwards type. They did sign Mike Edwards type. They signed Mike Edwards, and then he said, we're okay. Maybe the most surprising one was Mike Edwards, at least for me.
Certainly the most surprising one from before training camp started, right? Like Mike Edwards might have been, I said at the beginning of camp, and we talk about this now, we've talked about this multiple years. Like, I feel like the first day of training camp, you can probably get 45 of the positions, 45 of the roster spots figured out. And maybe that's really high. Maybe it's actually more like 40. But Mike Edwards is one that we would have gotten wrong kicking off training camp, where I might have had him closer to safety 3 than safety 5 or 6, wherever he ends up. And Chris Roland Wallace now being just essentially a full-time safety slot guy, kind of like Shamari Connor's been, and Connor getting some more safety snaps, and Brian Cook's getting starts, Connor's getting starts. Jaden Hicks's role seems smaller. Deion Bush was hurt though. He's on IR. And so there's not like a super veteran safety back there. So yeah, all that to say, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't really surprised today because his preseason had been pretty rough. But I would have absolutely gotten that one wrong at the beginning of the month.
Yeah. And again, the change to safety for Christian Roland Wallace was probably what did him in. Although I do find it, I don't know if concerning is the right word, but it does feel like the Chiefs have a lot of strong safeties versus free safeties or even guys who can go back and kind of rove, be a rover in the backfield. They have a lot of guys who are better in the box. Jaden Hicks is that, right? That's his calling card. Shamari Connor is that. To an extent, I think Brian Cook even is that as well. He's a very physical guy. I didn't think they had a specific archetype of Mike Edwards, and they brought him in, and they said, even then, we don't feel like he's moving the needle for us. So, okay. I don't know. I am a little surprised by that. Again, I don't think it's as shocking today because of how we've seen him play in the preseason, just all of this and how it's transpired. But yeah, I guess that was more of I would have thought even today he was more on the team than off, and we found out that he is off the team. If he can make it to the practice squad, that'd be lovely in case of injury. Just a security blanket, a veteran now. That
Deion Bush has been that guy.
Deion Bush has been that guy, though. Mike Edwards, I don't think plays special teams the way Deion Bush did.
Fair point.
A little caveat there, but yeah, that was a big surprise to me. Kevin Knowles, I think in the cornerback room, had a chance to make the 53. I think there's a lot of concern on Josh Williams, especially where he was playing in games, late in games. And just based on what we've heard from Spags and what they've shown. So I thought Kevin Knowles may have been a guy that could make the 53. And by the way, I don't think Josh Williams is safe as of yet, because if they go with 9 defensive backs, which is a possibility, that would be leaving him on the outside looking in. At least to me, it feels like Nnadi Johnson is on this team. Looks like Nazi's clearly ahead of Williams. And obviously, as we found out, Kevin Knowles as well. Hal Presley, Dalton Cooper, Bailey Zappi, Nate Matlock. Esapole, again, I thought the guy they were going to keep on as the developmental guy. Last year is Hansen. It was Ethan Driscoll. Esapole not quite making the 53. It sounded like there was some want to there. They like what he showed, but still not quite enough. Again, they might only go with 9 offensive linemen because you do have the versatility of a few guys, Wanya Morris, Jalen Moore, Hunter Norzad, Mike Caliendo. There can be some swapping on the inside and out there. So
no word on Ethan Driscoll yet either, who I thought would probably and still could be a non-football injury list guy because his appendix exploded. Or I don't know he had an appendectomy. So who knows never good to have an appendectomy. So, and maybe that's still just kind of the way, like, well, we can keep Driscoll kind of for free, air quotes, without the roster spot. And maybe we you couldn't do that with Pole. I'm going to be very interested to see Knowles and Pole as 2 guys who feel like the Chiefs probably gave them a practice squad offer on the way out the door, which I would assume they would have also done for Chris Oladokun, but he tweeted about being waived, which I thought was kind of strange because he's just been around for a while and it seems like his spot there would be pretty safe. All that to say, I'll be very curious to see if those guys do make it through. And I'll say this because, again, Pole in particular seems like the type of guy that if you are a team that doesn't have a developmental tackle and you think you've got the space for one of those guys, he seems like a target you'd want to have. We do have to remember, even if you erase the practice squad and you say you've got 17 practice squad spots, including Chu Godric on the international player pathway designee, you've got 70 roster spots. We have 32 teams cutting 20 players who will not have a job today or tomorrow, or as the practice squad spots come around. You're talking about 640 players who will have musical chairs stop and not have a chair even on a practice squad. So you also have these guys, for other fan bases and other front offices who these fan bases watch their team's 3rd and 4th quarter preseason games and went, man, I love this potential left tackle who barely played football in college or didn't play any, or I really love this cornerback who's got extra special teams juice. That's also happening elsewhere. So it's very, very interesting to kind of see how quote your guys get looked at by the rest of the league. And you can't really know. I'm sure the Chiefs have several guys they're quite confident are going to make the practice squad. Carson Steele is also in this conversation. How does the rest of the league view these guys? And that's a fascinating part of kind of where all this settles in.
Yeah. Derek Nnadi, I do want to hit on this real quick, but there's a couple comments I want to get to first. Phantom said Carson Steele's cut, who will be the blocking guy on short yardage plays, as well as Clint saying, after the release of Steele, there's another fake or faux running back, fullback, on the roster. Not that it matters in this day and age for Coach Reed. I think Noah Gray can do some of those things.
Yep.
I also think in a pinch, would you throw Leo Chanel out there as a blocking guy? He did it in high school. Am I mistaken there?
You might be totally right. Either way, I know my take on this, which 1, I would love to see it. 2, they have to practice that. It can't just, it's going to throw them in, right? Andy Reid wants to get some maybe under the cover of darkness practice reps of that. I think you're right, though, that Noah Gray did do that at Duke. And I wonder if old Big Bob Tonyan might have a little bit of a backfield alignment somewhere here or there. But I think Gray's the first guy up. I would be thrilled to see Leo get a chance at it.
I think I saw something in, here we go, 2024 Kansas City Star. Says something. He brought up fullback in a quote one time.
Okay. He played is the exact type of guy you want in that
he
spot.
Did. He played fullback for 2 snaps in 24.
He was on the field. Man,
Yeah,
I don't
that's what
remember
it
that
was.
at all.
It was week, what's that, 4-3 against the Bengals. Yep, that's what it was.
Both against the Bengals?
At least the one I saw was the last time was against the Bengals. So there we go.
Okay. I have completely deleted that from my memory, apparently, and I would like to see it again.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. So, yeah, so Leo could do that role. To answer your question, it looks like he's done it twice. Okay, I couldn't remember if that was in college or NFL, so I'm glad that I got some confirmation now. Chat coming in, Steven saying Leo lined up in a 4-point stance as a blocker in regular season. Okay. Yeah, I'm not crazy. From KL368. Leo was a blocker. I'm like, did I dream that? I always talk about it. Like, couldn't Leo do it? And yeah, we saw 2 plays of it. So that's what
I feel okay about remembering things that are happening, but every once in a while you say Leo Chanel played 2 snaps on offense last year, and I'm just in a haze. I don't know.
Sly James, appreciate the super chat. Nice super chat.
Always
already.
makes me smile. Not the first time he's done that, and it makes me smile every time.
Love that. Any news on Damian Martinez's visit with the Chiefs? I don't know if that was today. He had a visit with the Chiefs in the before the draft.
Pre-draft, right.
But I have not heard about that. He was released by Seattle. I know.
He was. Which is funny because people were really wringing their hands during that preseason game going, oh, man, Damian Martinez looks great, and Brashard Smith can't get any touches. I just remember seeing a couple of those tweets and thinking, that seems early. That seems early to me.
He did have a great run against the Chiefs, that bulldozing that was very reminiscent of Kareem Hunt. I do think it would be interesting because he was picked 5 picks before Brashard Smith.
Yes, very short.
I would be intrigued if the Chiefs moved on from Elijah Mitchell and went with Damian Martinez. The reason is Damian Martinez is going to be a healthy scratch almost the entire season. That's what that running back 4 spot really is more than anything else. It's in case of injury. Right. But I also think if this is Kareem's last year, and maybe it's not, maybe Kareem looks great and he's like, oh, he's got a couple more years left. But if it's Kareem's last year, he fills that role. Do you want that developmental running back in your system? If you like that power back, if you like that sort of style, would you bring that guy in, stash him, because RB4 is going to be an inactive most game days anyways? Is that your future Kareem Hunt replacement for short yardage situations? Again, I'm not saying he's Kareem Hunt, maybe more or less last year's earlier version of Kareem Hunt, right? But I think it's intriguing. I do think Damian Martinez is a name to keep an eye on just in case. Although I will say he was drafted. There might be a team, since the Chiefs will be so far down in the pecking order of waiver wire pickups. It's not fantasy football. But yeah, that's a good call, Sly. I like it.
I can't remember, and I don't know if we knew the details or if not, and so I apologize if any of this is bordering on slander. I think he had some off-the-field things that were kind of also contributing to where he ended up sliding in the draft. I'm not even sure we knew what those... I'm not sure if those became public or if there's just something specific I'm forgetting. But yeah, I mean, again, the Chiefs did their work on Damian Martinez, and I think... especially if Elijah Mitchell, if they just say, hey, man, we had you through camp, it just wasn't enough for us to see the oomph. There's got to be somebody who shows up into the practice squad early, which I think is probably the goal here. I think if another team's going to most of these running backs and saying, hey, we got a roster spot on the 53 for you, get on over here, that's probably going to be the way to go. But if you had especially a younger running back who you could throw on the practice squad in the spot that Keontae Ingram and LaMichael Pirine have been in over the years and say, hey, you're a running back who just got here. Samaje Perine, obviously, last year went straight to the roster, but you're a running back who just got here. You're a young guy. Hop on the practice squad. Let's see how things go 4 to 6 weeks. There's probably going to be somebody banged up. Maybe we need a little more juice at the position. And then in week 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there, come on through and try to make an impact on a game day elevation. You just always have to treat the running back position that way, I think. It does give a shorter leash to a guy like Mitchell or Carson Steele, but you need to continue, I think, hunting for explosion with the bottom of your running back position.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Clint McKenzie. Thank you for the super chat. Says, in honor of those who didn't make the cut, keep grinding, fellas. Great call. The people who whose dreams and careers might be ending today, those are the ones that are always extremely hard. Always feel for those folks. So I know a lot of people might be jubilant and a lot of people will have the excitement permeate throughout them, but their careers are coming to an abrupt halt. So Clint, great job. Way to put that in perspective. I do want to talk about Derek Nnadi, him coming back to KC. And what does that mean for the defensive line room overall? Because I think there's some things you can take away from Nnadi back in KC that might not be boding well for the defensive line as a whole. But before we do that, Underdog. We're back, baby. Underdog is back. Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. You get your pick right, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. I am a huge fan of Pick'em, huge fan of Underdog. I love doing it for NFL specifically. It's just super easy, higher, lower on anything. I love passing yards personally. I know September 5th, once the Chiefs and Chargers game gets underway, I'll be rocking a lot of fun pick'ems right there on Underdog. I'll have one for you guys for that game. So download the app today and sign up with promo code Arrowhead Addict to score $50 in bonus funds when you play with your first $5. That's promo code Arrowhead Addict. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona and Massachusetts and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Consider your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. That's my preseason.
4.2. I mean, I have to give you honest assessments here to get better. Was the word assess in there or assets? What was? Somebody else heard that, right?
Present.
It's not like you said
yes,
yeah,
assets. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web. I mean, that's so hard.
It sounded like you said
HTML.
asses.underdog, which is not the URL.
Bow.
Do not go to asses.underdog.com. I don't think it's going to work.
Do not. Well, maybe. Damn, I'm better than that. Damn.
Listen, hey,
it's hard. That
anybody from Underdog right now is listening to this and going, I don't know if I can trust Sterling Holmes with our fast-paced disclaimers anymore. You don't know Sterling Holmes. He has put up 8s, 9s, 9.5. I think I've given him as high as an 9.87. Do not let one bad performance sway you.
Yeah, it happens. Hopefully I don't get cut after that. It's the HTML, the web.com aspect that got me. That part was, I'm not used to that. It's tricky.
No,
it was tricky.
New.
I normally
But
practice.
Look, you got to get better. Next time it's on you.
I got to I did it even with Richard before to try and practice once. I got to do a run through. But
yeah, I agree.
We'll get better. We'll grow.
It's hard to read sometimes. I'm not joking.
Yeah, we'll grow.
Sometimes you get caught up in the air in ways you just simply cannot expect.
And shout out, I actually do love Underdog. I am a huge fan of Underdog.
Oh, I know.
All right, Derek Nnadi. So Derek Nnadi back in KC, little 2027. Stephen Holman, sorry, I got to stop. Sterling should be thankful he was an early draft pick. Otherwise, he would have been cut for that performance.
You may have seen my mustache twitch a little bit on the sideline there during that one, like your good friend Travis Kelce talks about sometimes.
KL, you can try that URL. You might get put on a list, though. Asses.underdog. Yeah, probably not that one. Phantom, at least Sterling gets the state abbreviations right. Yeah, I at least nail. I know when those are.
I'm saying, again, your body of work far exceeds one bad read.
This was Kelce this was Kelce in the Super Bowl last year. This was Kelce in the Super Bowl.
It might have been Joe Tooney, man. Like you are like so consistent at the fast reading, and sometimes it gets you. That's it. You can't be literally perfect. You can try again next week.
Yeah, I will be better next week. Everyone come back next week, and we will go through that one more time. It'll be great. I even read some John Steinbeck. It's been a good book.
Well, read it fast and out loud.
Yeah, I should next time. Joshua Clayton, thank you. The season hasn't started yet. It's okay, Sterling. Thank you. I need the positivity. I need the positivity.
You do.
All right. So Derek Nnadi, 2027, 6th, 7th round swaps right there. My thought is, yikes. They moved on from Derek Nnadi for a reason. The Jets moved on from Derek Nnadi for a reason. And the Chiefs said, okay, I know we moved on. And it wasn't like Tershawn Wharton where they're like, oh, we got outbid. We wanted him, but we got outbid. It was basically the vet minimum, 1.4 mil for Derek Nnadi. It was like 457 or something like that guaranteed. And the Chiefs said, hey, we've seen Jerry Tillery. We've seen Omar Norman-Lott. We've seen Mike Pennell. We've seen Marlon Tuipulotu. We've seen Fabian Lovett. We still feel like we need Derek Nnadi back here in the interior.
It is a move you don't want to feel like you have to make. I love Derek Nnadi. Derek Nnadi is instantly back to like probably top 5 like chillest hangs in that locker room. He's one of the only members of the Chiefs who I feel comfortable making that assessment on, just because I had like a great half-hour chat with him one time. Just an absolutely delightful guy, does fun things with KC Pet Project. I'm glad that Derek Nnadi is back. I would have been fine if Derek Nnadi never left. That's kind of the thing for me, where it's like, to your point, you get through all of this in the preseason and training camp and all that. And Omar Norman-Lott puts on some weight and starts playing more like a one tech. And I don't want to be too definitive about anything there because you don't know exactly how he's being coached and whatnot. But he's been nursing an injury all throughout training camp. You already mentioned in practice today. And you kind of wonder where he's at. But if you were ever going to ask Omar Norman-Lott to be Derek Nnadi, I think you made 2 mistakes. I think you made a mistake letting Derek Nnadi walk and a mistake asking Omar Norman-Lott to be a fundamentally different player than he was in college. Again, this isn't an end of the conversation on Omar. It's just kind of a weird part of the mix. What I really thought the Chiefs were saying is, okay, you know what? Marlon Tuipulotu, who they've now cut today, Marlon Tuipulotu has been in the system for a little bit. He was on the practice squad for a little bit. We think 2025 Marlon and 2025 Derek Nnadi is basically equivalent players. And we're just going to take the cheaper one. And I think the younger one, I think Marlon's a bit younger. I haven't checked. We'll just go that route. Okay, fine. Or Fabian Lovett, also you mentioned, one of these guys is going to be able to do enough of this job that we don't need to bring back Derek Nnadi. And maybe Nnadi wanted to go test the water somewhere else. I can't imagine that he was in a huge hurry to get out of Kansas City. And then the Jets make their couple of trades. And I had a text to the Weird Games group chat on Wednesday. And I said that Derek Nnadi introductory press conference is going to be awesome. And a few days later, they make that trade. I didn't think they'd have to trade for him. The Jets had totally signaled, again, by the trading for 2 defensive tackles, they had signaled that Derek Nnadi was not going to be on their roster. Presumably, the Chiefs thought somebody else might make a trade like that for Derek Nnadi. It's sort of trading Sky Moore for Derek Nnadi, which doesn't make me feel good about anything, really. Like, it's not terrible. It's not some like heinous misstep. It's just all pretty weird. I do think it is a pretty good sign that the interior defensive line in some way disappointed them this season. I don't think it says anything about, let me tell you who I think it doesn't involve. Okay. I think it says nothing about Chris Jones. I think it says nothing about Jerry Tillery. I think it says nothing we didn't already know about Mike Pennell. I don't think it has anything to do with Jerry Tillery. Jerry Tillery is playing nothing like Derek Nnadi's spot. He looked good in the 3rd preseason game. What it says to me is that Mike Pennell's up there in NFL football years, and he only can play so many snaps. I think this is more about Marlon Lovett and what they got from Omar Norman-Lott. I think Jerry Tillery's role is unchanged.
I agree with Chris Jones, and I agree with Mike Pennell as far as you know what you have. He's not an every down guy.
So this shouldn't have surprised you.
Yeah, that shouldn't surprise anyone. So I think Mike Pennell is about the same thing. You know what he can give you. Solid player, but only a limited role and limited amount of snaps. Omar Norman-Lott, I don't take a ton away outside of potential injury, right? I just he's a rookie, right? Expecting him to be a game changer, I think, is a little foolhardy early on.
If they hadn't bulked him up, I'd be 100% with you. The fact that they tried that just has my antenna up.
Fair. To me, yeah, Marlon Tuipulotu or Fabian Lovett, those 2 guys in particular, maybe slightly Malik Herring, although he's mostly outside, right? So that doesn't really say as much on him. I think it does say a little about Jerry Tillery, though. That's where my disagreement was. Not a lot. I know they're different style of players, But still, if Tillery is like, oh, yeah, he still looks pretty good stuff in the run. He still looks pretty solid there. You don't bring him back. You just roll with what you have.
Played almost 700 snaps last year. You have to have another pass rushing defensive tackle not named Chris Jones in the rotation there. I really don't think. I think they looked around and they said, we don't have enough beef. We don't have enough bodies. And I think Tillery is above the cutoff for that to really matter to him. I guess if he would have been absolutely dominant in this last month and a half or something, maybe you could get me to say that would have kept them from feeling that like they needed to add another body at all. But again, to me, like they decided it was worth the trade to upgrade Fabian Lovett and Marlon Tuipulotu into Derek Nnadi. I think that's really interesting.
I think that's fair. I think that might be the best takeaway is that Derek Nnadi is just better than Lovett or Tuipulotu.
Right.
But then it makes it intriguing of why they let him walk just to trade for him back. So
they did this with McCole Hardman last year and made an in-season trade for him. And like I'm with you, man. It's one of those things where if he just would have gotten cut and brought back, and the Chiefs would have said, "Hey, we took a shot on Marlon and Lovett, and they just didn't turn into the guys we thought they were going to turn into." So he brought Nnadi back, and I'm not really been out of shape about the pick swap. Again, it's kind of what they got, and I was surprised they got anything for Sky Moore. So it comes out in the wash, but it is weird, and I think we certainly agree. It is on some level an admission that the interior defensive line just didn't come together the way they wanted it to.
But again, at that point, it's a sunk cost. And once you know it's that, makes sense to go and at least get someone that you know and trust at least a little bit to bring him back. The Bucks did waive Desmond Watson, our large human that we all wanted the Chiefs to draft in the 7th round, or at least a UDFA. The heaviest player in the NFL waived. Bucks and him, I don't know, it was weird that they apparently didn't really ever work out with him. It was
I don't think he ever practiced. I think he was just trying to lose some weight.
They was like just apparently people were like, yeah, he's just walking around like just trying to lose weight. So I don't know if that's on him, on the Bucks, if it was just a numbers game.
It's something that would continue on the practice squad if you believe in the vision for him, right? Like he wasn't going to lose 50 pounds in a month. Not even sweating in St. Joe. Are you going to lose 50 pounds in a month? I don't think.
Yeah, and also wouldn't you just, lose more weight working out, playing football than walking around a track? That was like a weird sort of thing. But yeah, Desmond Watson, big boy. Could have been Derek Nnadi. Could have been your Marlon.
I'd happily have him pop on the practice squad just so we could talk about it more. I'd love that.
It'd be fun. This is from Rich Kamini. I believe, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his last name.
Maybe, I don't know.
Kamini.
Sorry, Rich. We've seen your name a lot. I'd never learned how to pronounce the last name.
Covers the Jets. Yeah, I'm sorry. And a Syracuse alum. I bet Petro knows. Cuts had to be submitted by 4 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
The Jets have not announced their cuts. Some teams prefer to wait until the waiver wire is released 7 to 8-ish, thinking it gives them a competitive advantage. So the Jets are doing that. And I think the Chiefs might be in the same boat because you and I did this last year with some of the last ones, and they waited until about that time when we were done. We were pontificating for a long time trying to stall, and we were not going to stall that long.
I'll ask you a question. Here as we approach the 40-minute mark on cut down day. I know my answer. It's not surprising. Is there one player who you will be like irrationally sad if they do not make it through to the Chiefs practice squad, who you think has a chance to make it, but you also think has a chance to get picked up?
Probably Esapole.
I think that's a wise answer. I think that's a ball-knowing answer. I want one more look at Jason Brownlee. I just do. I know he joins an infinite. It's like the Avatar, where there is just this long stretching number of reincarnations years and years and years back. But his little like back shoulder fade Spider-Man catch in week 1 from Mahomes, and the hit he took last week at the goal line, right? He looks like a football player to me. He looks like a football player. I'd like to see him play some football. Makes me hold out hope for Jimmy Holiday also. Looks like a football player. Special teams. Anybody who delivers a thump in the preseason gets like an extra 5 minutes of my attention every year. Because that's the way to do it. That's the way to my heart.
Yeah.
Catch a pass in traffic. Take or deliver a thump. Catch a pass from Patrick Mahomes in the first week. Boom.
Alan says McCole Hardman got cut. How long until a KC reunion? I think it's done at this point, but yeah, you're right. That feels very Chiefs-like. But no, I think this time around the Chiefs' depth is just too much. Because it'd be the Tyquan Thornton. It'd be the Tyquan Thornton role, and I think that I'm going with, and the Chiefs should be rolling with Tyquan.
I agree on that one. What if it's not? What if it's the Nico Remigio role? You said at the top of the show, you feel like Nico's seventh wide receiver spot's safe as a special teamer who's not going to see the field on offense. I think McCole Hardman probably has a higher ceiling on offense, and he's got more straight up speed than Nico does as a return man.
Who do you trust more back there? Because I actually might trust Nico more.
This might be a dumb question if I'm missing something obvious. Has McCole Hardman ever done anything to lose trust as a return man? I guess some decisions, right? I guess like fielding a punt in a spot or not fielding the punt in the spot. Not necessarily like bad hand, not the Sky Moore issue. I'm going to change your phrasing and say, I think if you just told me blindfolded, hey, one of these guys is back there to return this punt for the Chiefs, would you rather have Nico Remigio or McCole Hardman? I think I might lean towards McCole. I don't really have a strong opinion.
Nico. I think I'd lean Nico.
That's fine. I'm just throwing it out there. So if it happens, people aren't coming through next Tuesday going, oh, they did. They brought him back. I could see it. More importantly, it's a reminder of the thing we talked about earlier where like your team cuts your guys who you've fallen in love with and the rest of the league looks at them. The Chiefs have had so many of these guys. Obviously, Kadarius Toney is out of the league. MVS got cut today. Clyde Edwards-Helaire got cut today. Hardman, who started this little spinoff. The Chiefs have made a lot with guys who have not necessarily found success in other places. And I think that will be never-endingly fascinating.
Todd Tollfree. This is an intriguing one. Says Chiefs, O-line, D-line scouts, and coaching has been subpar. We need new direction in both. I don't know.
See how this year goes. I mean, it's not like you had a take.
Yeah, no, I don't know about scouting on the offensive side because I think they've scouted fine. I think Josh Simmons so far, they've scouted fine. I think Creed Humphrey, they scouted fine. I think Trey Smith, they scouted fine. I think that Kingsley Sumatia, maybe not, or maybe that's just all coaching. Juwan Taylor coming here and not getting better coaching. Hunter Norzad or CJ Hansen or Ethan Driscoll. Like again, those were lottery picks. Those were darts. Right. But I don't know how much improvement we've seen, right? So I think coaching's a little more intriguing. You know my thoughts. I'm not saying fire Andy Heck. I'm almost never team fire someone. I'm team relocate someone. I don't like to see people lose their job. But I like, hey, you're not doing it correctly. Let's see if we can find you something else. Let's find you a new office. Let's find you something else to do here. But I think Andy Heck should have a little more pressure on him this year. I think there has to be. I think it's only fair. Defensive line, I haven't got to that because Joe Cullen's there, right? And I think Joe Cullen is a pretty damn good defensive line coach. I don't think that the talent has been there outside of Chris Jones. And now George Karlaftis, which I think, again, give credit to the scouts for. Karlaftis, I love that draft pick from the get-go, right?
But he's improved.
But he's improved.
I mean, yeah.
I don't have a big issue with Cullen. I think the FAU one was not ideal. Tershawn Wharton was also, though, a guy who was identified and developed. So I have maybe less of an issue on the defensive line than I do the offensive line.
I agree with that. Yep. It's so hard. I'm not just being gun shy about this just because you're right. Like, I think it's a good human instinct to have of like, I don't necessarily want to be taking people's jobs publicly at every turn of the day. It gets a little old for me personally. But also, man, I don't really know what Andy Heck's saying on the sideline, during training camp. I don't really know what's Kingsley's fault and what's Andy Heck's fault. I don't really know what was Connor Embry's fault and what was Sky Moore's fault, right? Like, so much of that ends up being, is Tom Melvin the greatest tight ends coach of all time? Maybe he has the greatest tight end of all time who developed under his tutelage. So you know what I mean? Like, it's, I think in all, at least to err on the side of caution, you assume it's both, right? You assume that the player and the coach both bring their own thing to the table. And you see a lot of players who are Chiefs who hit near their ceiling and they end up going elsewhere and they're not hitting their ceiling anymore if they're even hitting their floor. But I also think that we have a large enough sample size where you could be a little bit let down by the developmental arc of the offensive line, where Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith were arguably the very best at their position in college. And probably not. I don't remember. I think Creed was the second center taken. He might have been the first.
Third.
Was he? Okay.
Third.
So
If
point
I'm not
being,
mistaken, because was it the guy from the Saints? Let me. I'll look it up. You talk.
I was thinking about the Packers, maybe. I don't remember. But point being, those guys were Big 12 and SEC talent, respectively. Huge programs, played great. Obviously, Trey Smith fell because of the medicals. Josh Simmons was arguably the best tackle in this draft before the knee. So I do think you can say, well, this elite talent has stayed very, very high level. We're still projecting on Simmons. And then everything else, you look at it and say, are you evaluating a coaching staff by how great the great is? Are you evaluating them by how much they've improved the floor? And again, it's always a mix. It's always going to be a combination of those things. I'm not refusing to have a take here. It is complicated.
Landon Dickerson actually drafted as a center for the Eagles.
Huh. Well, Kelce was still there, so that wasn't on purpose, right?
So Landon, and then Josh Myers, who was Packers.
Okay, interesting.
So
See,
Humphrey,
guys who were in those conversations in terms of being the best at their position their final year in college, they came out as fully formed products, and then still, obviously improved as professionals. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought. I tend to agree with the idea that you want to have fresh brains in your coaching staff on a somewhat regular basis. But I also understand Andy Reid wanting to have familiar faces and guys who understand how everything works. So again, I think like all things, it's kind of a balance.
It's tough to move on when you keep going to and winning Super Bowls.
Fair.
Like, it's tough.
Yeah.
Like, that's why Bob Sutton kept his job so long too, was like, even they weren't winning Super Bowls at that time. Like we keep going to the playoffs and we're having decent success. How do you fire that? Like, he got canned after losing in the AFC Championship game, right? Like, that's hard to make that decision, right? Yeah. So I do think there's always some sort of, man, how do you move on when you keep winning? Because, you can at least get to that level, right? I always think it's very intriguing. All right, everyone. Appreciate you guys all hanging out with us. A lot of fun going through some roster cut down days right here on the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Go to arrowheadaddict.com because they'll keep you posted for the rest, because we might be going till 7 or 8 o'clock in regards to the actual final, who was on the roster and who was not. And shockingly, we do not want to pontificate, second time using that today, pontificate third time, for 4 more hours. So make sure you check out arrowheadaddict.com. Briscoe, I think, had one thing to say, or is that
I
what
did.
you
I just wanted to read this comment from Stephen Holman on the way out and said, your analysis, Josh, might suggest that Mahomes raises the performance of those around him. And Stephen, I would just like to say, you got it. I will happily suggest that. That is absolutely suggestible for me.
Love that. Appreciate everyone. Again, give us a like, a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe on the YouTube channel as well. Whole bunch of great stuff coming your way right here, again, on the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Also, Underdog, promo code Arrowhead Addict. Briscoe will be back in about 40-ish minutes or so on Only Weird Games. Until next time, we are out.